Welcome into another edition of the OKPreps Verbal Commit. I'm your host, Michael Knight, and I'm sitting down today with Union offensive lineman Gabe Cantu. You see the TU helmet here. He is committed to the University of Tulsa. Before we get into your recruitment, your commitment to TU, and all of that, we got to go back to last year. First year as a starter, kind of halfway through the year. Talk about your experience last year as a guy trying to get some playing time, to becoming a big part of the offensive line.
Yeah, so I started out on JV. I was grinding pretty hard to get a spot, and we had some things open up, and I got some opportunities, and I didn't squander it. I went out there and I worked hard and gave it all I had, and I came back the off season. I gotten pretty big, and coaches liked that, how the progress that I had made with my strength and my speed, and they've just liked it so far. So kind of got a little bit more attention. So it's been pretty cool.
Last season in particular, you're able to work on the same offensive line as Ricky Stromberg, who is at the University of Arkansas now, one of the best offensive linemen in the state last year. How did that help your progression as an offensive lineman, working with a guy like him day in and day out? You know,
just constantly seeing at the level that he played at with such a consistency. You know, he played at, an 11 out of 10. Just high motor, putting people on the ground, just being nasty. I'd watch his film just to see what all he would do to put people on the ground. Just the high motor that he had really was infectious. And, he taught me a lot of techniques and a lot of things to do, and calmed me down during games, because, it was my first year. And he'd been playing for a really long time. So he was a great leader and a good role model for the offensive line for me coming up. So it was awesome.
Now, the way the season ended, obviously, you probably don't want to talk about that, but how much have you used it this offseason, your teammates, how much have you used it this offseason to motivate you going into a new year?
I mean, it's just fuel to the fire, It's going to be the same goal every year, to win a state championship, and that's just what happened last year is always in the back of our head. And, kind of playing with a chip on our shoulder and, a little extra fuel. And, it tells when you do an extra rep on the bench or when you go an extra rep on the squat, you put more weight on, You're just doing extra, doing more for the culture because, that upsets the culture of Union, And we want to as a senior class, we want to leave our dent on the program, and, we want to get it done this year. It's the same goal as every year, so it's just more fuel.
You mentioned that culture and the expectations, and year in and year out, Union is one of those programs that expects to be contending for a state championship. Does that pressure ever, get to you guys? Do you ever talk about it like, man, this is nuts? This is, it's, at the end of the day, it's high school football, but you probably don't feel like a typical, going into your senior year, you probably don't feel like a typical senior.
What's crazy, I came from a 1A school called Summit Christian. I had a class of about 20 kids in my 2020 class. And just moving from like a 1A to a 6A program, you feel it everywhere. The want to win, the culture, and it affects your daily life. And going into my senior year, having been here through my 12th grade year, just doing the little things and, getting as close to perfection as you can, and just leaving your mark on the culture. It's you can feel it. It's crazy.
Now, when this offseason, let's talk about that, your recruitment. At what point obviously, I'm sure, playing football, you probably had the dream to play college ball. What level, who knows? But at what point did you come to the realization that you were going to have an opportunity to play college football?
I've always had a big problem with, doubting myself whether I was going to play college football, just, coming in so late to the program. And but the coaches have done a really good job of developing me as a player and as a person and just physically. And I think about this year when I started going to some camps and stuff, when I started getting some invites and some looks, it got my confidence up a little bit, and I started playing with a little bit more confidence. And when I saw what that did for me, it became a realization. So
When was the first offer? Who was the first offer?
So the first offer was East Central University from, I think it's Ada, Oklahoma.
Right.
Yeah. And that, I mean, I was pretty ecstatic just because, you know, an offer is an offer to me.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna work for more, but you know, just free college and the opportunity to get money for college was good enough for me. But you know, it just pushed me to work more. But yeah, that was my first offer with East Central.
At what point did TU start talking to you and then ultimately extend you an offer?
You know, we came to a spring ball one day, and an OU offensive line coach was out there, Bill Bedenbaugh, and TU's coach was out there, Coach Blesh. And when I first really felt kind of an open invitation when they started really talking to me is we were doing an inside drill, and Coach Blesh was like, "Holy crap! Like you've gotten pretty big like since last year." And told me they had been keeping an eye on me, and they invited me to a camp, and I did pretty good at the camp, and you know, I got the offer from it. So,
what was the timeline from when they offered you to when you went ahead and committed? How soon after was that?
I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks of just hard praying. We were just praying as a family and just seeing where God was leading us. So it was about 3 weeks, I'm pretty sure. So.
And then what ultimately, you know, you spent time thinking about it, talking with family, you know, making sure this was the right fit for you. What was that, all right, it's time to pull the trigger and go ahead and commit to TU? What was that moment, and what was that thing that just that number one selling point?
We went on the visit, and just everything felt right. We knew I can play there, and we knew that everything we needed is right there. And we just saw an open door, and we decided to walk through it. And you know what? We just pulled the trigger, and we're not going to look back on it right now. So
now let's talk about this season for Union, because before we start putting you in a Golden Hurricane helmet, you got one more year with Union. You're going to have a new quarterback. You're going to be blocking for a new guy, and you got a quarterback battle going on right now. As an offensive lineman, you know, blocking for different guys, is it harder to get into a flow? Because I mean, they probably bring different styles as far as, you know, one guy, you know, he's more mobile. One guy, you know, he likes to throw on the run, whatever it may be. Is it difficult to get into a flow or a rhythm, you know, blocking for different guys?
You know, I love them the same, and you know, they're both just my quarterbacks, and I've adjusted to both of the ways that they've played, and it took, you know, a couple practices or so, and
yeah.
But you know, it's just constant repping it out with them and getting an even amount of reps with them, and that's really the coach's thing, is, you know, making sure who gets this many reps and everything. But you know, at the end of the day, I'm not really looking at it. Well, I'm not looking at them while I'm snapping the ball. Like I'm just snapping the ball to them, and you know, that QB bond. I have that QB bond, that center QB bond with both of them. So yeah, I mean, it's not really going to affect me either way. I'm just going to snap the ball to them. So
that's the right answer anyway.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this season. Obviously, you know, big first month for Union when it comes to the season opener with Broken Arrow. You got Mansfield, a team out of Mansfield again, and then of course Jenks, and then that first district game. I don't know who, like, how that draw. I know it's done by a draw as far as when you play district opponents. First district game, Owasso again.
Yeah.
Going to be huge. How important is it to get out to a fast start, considering the teams that you're playing so early on in the season?
I mean, how, you know, it's so important. Like, we're all front loaded and everything, so we got to be fast from the jump. We got to be physical from the jump. We got to just be nasty football players, and we got to give it all we have and give some more. You know, we're front loaded, and we're going to treat it the way we do every year. We play with one level, you know, and it's nasty, physical, fast, you know. So we're going into it how we go into every year. So
what has to be different? Final question for you. What has to be different than last year for Union to take that next step to avoid something like the semifinals happening again? What has to be different with this year's team to go ahead and get a gold ball?
I think it's just the little things, you know. I think it's the little things that get teams in trouble a lot, and you know, it's just attention to detail. And we've done a really good job this off season and this RCC and our summer workouts of paying attention to the little things, getting the little things right. And yeah, I think the little things are what are going to count the most in the end.
Gabe, thank you for sitting down with me. Congratulations on your commitment to
Thank
TU,
you.
and good luck to you and the Redskins this fall, all right?
Sir, thank you.
He's Gabe Cantu. I'm Michael Knight, and this has been another episode of the OKPreps Verbal Commit.